That's right. You're listening to Totally Driven Radio, and I got this long introduction built up for this guy. Let me do this. Let's see. Here he is, returning after 5 long years. He's self-managed. He's self-booked most of the time, in quotations, 100% a self-reliant one-man gang. He's known as Stevie Rachelle from Hell, TUFF Tales from the Porn, Metal Sludge, and is also now Wisconsin Area Music Hall of Fame member as of this past May. Let's bring it back on here. He's live on the air. Stevie freaking Rachelle. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, Bay. Nice to see you again. Well, I should say nice to talk with you again. I'm obviously not seeing you. I'm hearing you. But thanks for inviting me. And has it really been 5 years? I thought it was less than that. Like, I thought it was maybe 3 or something. But I guess it is. Time flies.
April 11th, 2013.
Wow.
Scary.
So it's a little over 5 years. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, dude, so much is going on in your world. Hall of Fame. How the hell did that happen? That's pretty scary.
Well, it's funny you say that because I kind of thought the same thing. Like when I got a call earlier in the year, I really thought it was just a couple of buddies kind of pulling my leg, and of course the social media people will be like making fun of it and mocking it because it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but it's the Wisconsin Area Music Industry Hall of Fame, and that's where I'm from. And it's a cool thing. It's been going on for almost 40 years, and honestly, I had heard about it, but I didn't really know a lot about it. So when the guy Zoe Vegas, who's the president of the Whammies, called me, I just said, hey, so what's the deal? How does this work? How long has this been going on? He's just like, oh, we've been doing this since 76 or 8 or something, and he just went into the whole spiel and told me all about it, and then I did some research on it and found out who was all inducted. And it's basically musicians that have had success and entertainers that are from Wisconsin. You have to be born there. That's one of the prerequisites, and obviously I join a list of people like Les Paul, who's famous for the guitar, Steve Miller from the Steve Miller Band, the Violent Femmes were a very popular. Technically, they were a punk band, but they had a couple of pop-esque hits in the early mid-'80s. Butch Vig, who produced Nirvana, Garbage, all that kind of stuff. Liberace is from Wisconsin, and
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and a whole host of other different types of musicians, producers, jazz players, all kinds of different stuff. And now Stevie Rachelle from TUFF and the Cheeseheads with Attitude, officially in the Wisconsin Area Music Industry Hall of Fame. And I'm stoked for that. It was a great ceremony. I enjoyed it. And, I guess they recognized me after 3+ decades of service in being a Wisconsin native, a cheesehead,
But you know what, dude? Like, that is like, I would be probably more stoked. Seriously, like, maybe because I'm like such a person that's very proud of like where I came from and the Philadelphia area. Like if somebody would give me like say like, hey, like if we want to give you an award for being part of the Philadelphia community or whatever, like I think that might even just mean more than like you said, it's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but even so, it's major props.
Yeah, and I asked the guy. I said straight away. I said, why are you guys even inducted me? And he kind of laughed. And he goes, listen, Stevie, there's not a lot of guys from Oshkosh who got a record deal or, had a top 10 video or did the things you do, and aside from TUFF, it's a regional thing and a local thing to Wisconsin, but people know about it because I guess people who follow me. But the Cheeseheads with Attitude, the Packer band that I put together in the 90s, is over 20 years old. We sold, 50,000 records. We've had a couple of, songs that have still get played, on the radio in Wisconsin. There's some of the songs, there's a couple of them that are kind of like classics. It's like hearing Greg Kihn bands, we had broken up for good just an hour before, like it's just, they hear that and they go, oh, I remember this. And we have a few songs like that. Nobody knows about them in New Mexico or Missouri or Oklahoma or Florida, but in Wisconsin, we got a couple of those. And they're a pretty big deal, and obviously it's usually around the Packer games and the weekends, but the songs made an impact. So in addition, he said, that he felt that my service with, running this website that I created 20 years ago has contributed to the music industry in some way or the other, and so there's a couple of reasons why I got nominated. It wasn't just TUFF. There was a few other things as well. So I'm stoked for it. I'm honored. It was a good time, and now I'm in the Hall of Fame. There you go.
Awesome. And speaking of Metal Sludge, I mean, it's kind of scary too. 20 years. It's coming up on 20th anniversary, September 1st. I mean,
yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's something that you kind of like started as a joke, pretty much, right?
I mean, yes, but I mean, the Cheeseheads were essentially a joke as well. It's not like I was sitting there, and when I say a joke, meaning, I take all the things I do seriously. I didn't spend 19 years and 10 months and counting on Metal Sludge because it's just a joke, But
right.
When we did it, we honestly, meaning myself and Sean, my partner who had started it with me, we didn't know what the internet was. I mean, we did, but we didn't. I mean, nobody did, Nobody knew what was going to happen in 2, 4, 6, 10, or 20 years. I mean, when we started this, it was the summer of 1998. There was no social networks. There was no Instagram. There was no YouTube. There wasn't even MySpace.
We were dialing
We were
up.
around for a couple of years before. Yeah, I mean, we were online way before any of that. There was no video channels, no Twitters, no Spotify, no streaming. None of that existed. So it was kind of like a trial and error thing. Like we knew that these things called websites was a place you could go online, go on your computer and type in these addresses. And at that time, it was like, you got to type the H and the T and the T and the P and the forward slash and the forward slash and the colon. And, you had to have everything exact. And then you'd go to this, it wasn't high-speed dial-up. It would take a minute or two for the page to load. And we were just creating this spot where you could go and talk about hair bands, talk about Slaughter and Motley Crue and Warrant and Skid Row or whoever. And it was a place for people to congregate. And what was really kind of neat, and it sounds so basic now, but 20 years ago, we're like, dude, right now I'm talking to this guy from Japan who loves Toxic. Like, wow, this is crazy. And then there'd be somebody from Delaware and somebody from Denver and somebody from England. And at some point you're talking with all these people from all over the world in this chat room or a thread on a gossip board or some kind of a little way you could exchange messages. And then everybody had their little IDs and their little icons with like a little smiley face or a gun or I'm dumb bitch 69 or whatever their ID was, And so it was just kind of crazy that we really didn't know what it was, And little by little, it's like more people were coming on, more demand, more interest. And then we just started getting, where it became more of a business as well. It became a business model. We're doing interviews and uploading content, but then we're selling advertisement. And at some point we started making merchandise. And, it was in the beginning for fun, but, even being in a band, at some point it's fun and it's like, hey, let's go in the garage and jam. But then if you're good enough and you go far enough, it's like suddenly you're dealing with a contract and a 6-figure budget and you're renting buses and paying salaries and commissions and being responsible for things. It's like the business side of it where a lot of guys go, I fucking hate this. I just want to play my guitar. It's just like, well, if you just
right.
want to play your guitar, then stay in your fucking room and just play your guitar. But if you want to go on stage in fucking 30 or 40 cities across America or fly around the world, you got to be a little bit more responsible, and there's more to it than just playing your fucking guitar. So it's the music business, not the music jam session or the music party,
Now, with the whole thing with Sludge, how much has with the explosion over, especially I guess like the last 5 years, or more than that, 10 years now with social media, with Facebook and all, how much has that really
right.
on the site? I mean, has it just double, tripled it since social media started?
No. As a matter of fact, it's taken away from it. Because here's the thing. When we came out in the late 90s or the early 2000s and somebody wanted to read about those bands, Motley Crue, whoever, we were one of the places that they could go to. And then at some point, KNAC was on at that time. MelodicRock.com was on. Blabbermouth came a little later. But those were really the only places you could go to talk about this music stuff. But once Twitter came around, or MySpace, or Facebook, or now Instagram, now people can talk about that on Facebook. Hey, I think Motley Crue sucks because they broke up. Hey, I think Guns N' Roses sucks because Steven's not in the band. Hey, I don't like this. I love that. And then people arguing, and same way they're, arguing about their political stances about who they like and who they don't like and which football team sucks and which one is their favorite. So there's other places for them to go. So people don't have to, they don't just go on Metal Sludge to talk about that. They can talk about that on any of these social networks,
Right.
So,
right.
But what we've had to do is at some point, you have to have a Twitter and you have to have a Facebook page or a Facebook group, and there's differences between being a person or a group or a page, and there's all those little intricacies that go with it. And then having a Twitter and, keeping up with it. And so, there's content that we put all what, a pain in the ass?
It's all pain in the ass.
Yeah, well, exactly, because some people, and I see people that say, like, put your fucking phone down, and not saying that they say that to me, but they say that in life. Not everybody goes on their phone or their computer for the same reasons that someone else does. I mean, sure, yeah, I go on my computer. I've looked at internet porn, but I'm not just going on my computer to look at porn, and I'm not just looking at my phone to see if people liked my shit. I have multiple businesses that I do. And I call it a business, but I have responsibility with TUFF. I have responsibility with Metal Sludge. I have responsibility with, working with Shameless in Germany, or Tales from the Porn in Brazil, or the Cheeseheads in Wisconsin, and I have an Amazon account, and an eBay account, and a store, and an iTunes outlet. And so there's all these different accounts that I have to deal with daily. It's my business. It's what I do, And so every day I do something on eBay. Every day I do things on Amazon or on Metal Sludge, and I'm promoting them through Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, because a lot of these outlets are how I make money, and sell product, whether it's CDs or T-shirts or vinyl or, and so advertisement. This stuff all entails being on a device, whether it's a laptop or a pad, an iPad or an iPhone, So I'm not just looking at, like, hey, did they like my photo? I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for somebody that just said, hey, I want to buy 4 Cat House shirts. I live in Japan. Okay, great. It's $140, or whatever, they have to pay, a large amount of shipping going across the planet, and next thing you know, there's a transaction and there's money in and money going out and a package being put together. And so it is. I mean, it's, you got like you said, and music business, and that's what you're doing. You're doing music business nonstop, whether it's Sludge, TUFF, Tales from the Porn, Shameless, eBay. I mean, it's nonstop, and you got to. Right. Yep. And because of the internet, if you do your work there, it is also something that happens round the clock, because at some point while we're going to sleep, everybody in Europe is waking up,
Right.
And so, they're reading content over there when we're asleep, or they're ordering merchandise, and I wake up and I look at my phone and I look at my phone the minute I wake up, because I'm looking. How many orders do I have from eBay? How many orders do I have from Amazon? How many text messages do I have from my kid's mother? Hey, you guys, this is what kids get out of school today an hour early. Make sure you're there. Whatever we're exchanging, there's things happening 24/7. So I always have my phone with me, and unless I'm watching the UFC or the Packers, then I have to put it down. You're
watching the Eagles? Come on. I know you. I know you're a big Eagles fan.
Who, me? Absolutely not. But congratulations. I was rooting for you guys, because I don't like the New England Patriots. But I was very happy for you, and I have a few other friends from from the area, John Karabi being one of them, and I remember he was on your show after they had won. So for you guys, it's a great thing, as you've waited a long time to get there,
Actually, I was trying to get another old Philly buddy of yours to call in, Mr. Bill Farley.
Oh, how do you know Billy Farley?
We grew up together.
For real?
Yeah. Him and Alex from Canada when they moved out there.
That was
the one
supposed to be my surprise?
Yeah. Surprise.
I love Billy.
Yeah.
But I'd rather talk to Billy in private than on a radio show with you. So, no offense.
I hear him and I'm the one that connected him and Alex from Canada when they moved out there with you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, you didn't connect them to me. You connected them together.
I connected them, and then they connected to you.
Right. Which I don't even remember how all that went, but
I don't either. It was Christ. It was 30 years ago. Long time ago.
Yep, time flies.
It is flying, boy. So the one thing that I have to laugh at, too, all the time is the dude on TMZ always wearing a TUFF shirt. I mean,
right.
How great.
Yeah, he's wore it like, without exaggeration, 25 times.
Oh, yeah.
I've since had some communication with Charlie. Cool guy. He's from Australia, as many might know. And for those who don't, he's Aussie. He's not a TUFF fan. He didn't know anything about TUFF. He was shopping somewhere and saw the shirt. Correct. I'll tell you. And he bought the shirt because he loves kangaroos. And TUFF's mascot is a kangaroo since the early days. So I contacted him through social media and just said hello and et cetera, et cetera. And then it turned out, he's not a TUFF fan. He's from Australia and he likes kangaroos. So that's why he bought it. And since then he's wore it. I don't even know how many times, but I mean, every time he wears it, my phone and inbox and instant messenger blows up with, "Hey, the guy from TMZ is wearing your shirt,"
Oh, that's funny.
But cool guy. Yeah.
Once a week. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's definitely worn it very, very often,
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's total right place at the right time. You got to love that.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing you're doing, which I'm kind of bummed, like you just put out part 3 as we were going live on the air. I'm like, shit, I didn't even get a chance to read it before we went on the air now. But you're doing your diaries on Metal Sludge, which are really kind of wild. Like the first part, it was like your whole decision to move to LA and all, which is, the inside look at like people's, how many millions of people across the country wanted to do that. And you did it. And the scary part, like you did it with 175 hours in your pocket. Like now, and I admit this all the time, I'm a big pussy. Like I would be so freaking scared to go to New Jersey with 175 hours, let alone go across the country. Like I took a lot of balls.
Well, it's too bad that you're a pussy, but yeah, I do have balls. So, $175 in 1987 is a lot more than it is in 2018. But still, it's like you said, and I had friends that wanted to move or thought about moving, but they wouldn't have done it, and didn't. Some of them, many of them didn't do it, but. I don't look at it as ballsy. I just look at it as life, I mean, some people are protected by their family more spoon-fed, have an easier life, I'm not saying I didn't have an easy life, even though I didn't. But I'm at a point where I was just like, I was so obsessed with being in a band and playing, and I wanted to go beyond what my local area was, affording me. Whether it was, I guess more than anything, it's not like it was affording me anything financially, but I just wasn't being pushed enough. I would go to see concerts and see Dokken and King Cobra and Motley Crue and Rat and, all these cool bands, Judas Priest and Great White and Wasp. And I was like, I can do that, but I didn't think that everybody around me could do that, so I'm like, and this isn't a diss, but I ain't gonna be able to do that if I stay in Oshkosh or play with some guys from fucking Appleton. It's just not gonna fucking happen. And I came to that realization pretty early, and made up my mind. I'm out. You know, it's like being a really good football player in your little league, you know, or your local high school. At some point, if you're that good, you got to go to Penn State.
Right.
You got to go to, you know, to Florida State University. You got to go to play for Texas A&M. You got to step it up. Now you compete with the next level. And then if you're still going, then it's off to the NFL. Let's see how good you are with the elite of the elite, you know. And I already felt like I had potential beyond what some of my friends had, you know. So I opted to up and bail. And I did.
So, like you were saying in the part one diary, you were telling how your friend came back from a trip from LA and he brought you a bunch of flyers and he was showing you flyers, and the one was the TUFF flyer, looking for the team. Like, so you still think even if you didn't say you never saw that flyer in your life, you still think you would have packed up and gone there eventually anyway?
Absolutely. It was already on the radar, you know. It was already in the plans, you know. But I'm also somebody that's very, very impulsive. If you watch a TUFF show, I've probably played hundreds and maybe a few thousand times in my life. I'll bet you couldn't find one show that was remotely similar in what I said between the first song and the last song. If you go see the Scorpions or Kiss and Paul Stanley goes, "So I got at my fire hose," you know, and he says the same rap every fucking night, you know. Right. That's not me. I'm an impulsive person, you know, and when I see something and I react to it, you know, whether it was a girl or, you know, the Cheeseheads. When the Cheesehead idea came into my head, it was like, bing, a light bulb went off, and I went home after watching the Packers lose to the Minnesota Vikings on September, 22nd, 1996, and I had this idea, Cheeseheads with Attitude, this Beastie Boys-esque three-piece band, singer, rapper, parody kind of thing, and I just fucking brainstormed like a madman for like night and day for like until we went in the studio, which was like 2 weeks later, and we cut 2 days worth of demos, and a month later I had a packaged CD. And 3 months later, I had $250,000 in my hand, and the Packers won the Super Bowl, and the CDs were selling so fast, I cashed in checks for $10,000, $15,000, and $35,000 a piece, you know? But I reacted like that, you know? They call it the window of opportunity, you know? Right. I was at Al's house. He showed me a bunch of flyers. I saw a bunch of bands. Singer wanted. I went home. I called the band, which turned out to be the rehearsal studio. As I talk about this in the first diary, the lady says, "Oh, you need to send us a package. You need a resume and an 8x10 and a bio and all this stuff. You know, publicity shot. You know, all this stuff sounded so fucking big time to me. Right. None of which I had. And I'm like, I looked at my tapes. I had like Maxell tapes, like a copy of a copy with the handwritten, you know, demo 1998, 85 or whatever was on there. And I'm like, fuck this. This shit's not good enough. I'm going to go there. And Friday night, I made my mind up on Saturday. I bought a flight on Monday. And on Thursday, I was in the airplane. From the time I saw the flyer, 1 week later, I was already at the Troubadour watching Angora with John Corabi. So I was in L.A. in less than a week from the time I saw that flyer. And not only was I in L.A. in less than a week, I lived in an apartment. I had 2 jobs. I had a car. I had an income. I had all kinds of things that could have tied me down. But I said, fuck it. I'm quitting both jobs. I'm going to take all my shit out of my apartment. I'm going to put it in the basement. I'm going to park the car at the end of the driveway, leave the keys here, and I'm going to fucking leave on a one-way ticket. And I did.
That's wild.
That's just the way, you know, that's how it happened. I mean, I wish I could have had the outcome be, you know, I was worth $50 million. but, you know, I still have done a ton of stuff that, you know, for all the guys that grew up looking in a mirror, using the hairbrush as their microphone or a guitar, a broomstick as their guitar. There's a lot of guys that did that.
Absolutely.
Millions of kids that did that.
I'm sure.
I'm in a very, very small fraction of a percent of people that got up a couple of those rungs on the ladder of success, and I'm happy for that. There's many rungs I didn't touch, but I went up many more than the vast majority of people that wanted to do it or tried to do it or dreamed of doing it, so.
Now that you're doing like these diaries and all, you at the end of each diary you have a little post with all these things, and the first thing you say in there, like, you're not planning to write a book at this time. Why is that? Like, right. I'm sure you can fill a book with amazing stories.
Yeah, you're right. I could, but here's the thing. I've signed record deals a couple times, but I've self-released many more records. I don't even know what the total is. 40? I mean, there's 6 or 8 TUFF records, a couple solo records. I managed that band, the Swedish band Veins of Jenna, the Cheeseheads. I produced the punk band. I mean, I put out a lot of product. Product meaning CDs, DVDs, VHS, vinyl. Product is becoming less and less important to most people. It's becoming extinct, Yeah. It's like newspapers and magazines. How many people have bought a Metal Edge or a Hit Parader or anything? Spin, Rolling Stone. Who's bought Playboy? Who's bought any one of those magazines in the last 10 years? Out of everybody that's listening to this right now, I'll bet you fucking most people haven't bought 2 of all those combined. But if you would ask that same question 25 years ago, people would have fucking, I got every Playboy. I get it every month. I got every Rolling Stone. I get Metal Edge every month, Same thing with books, If I decided to produce a book, to write a book, to publish a book, have it done, add the photos, find a publisher, not even no one would sign me to a deal, and I wouldn't take a shitty deal anyways. I would fund it and make the books myself and sell them myself, But I know how it sells, how much it costs to do that, and I also know how it's how hard it is to sell CDs and vinyl and T-shirts today. So it's just another object that you have to spend money to put together. I could write journals right now for the next 10 years. Somebody wants to read the first 2 or 3 and get bored and stop. They don't have to read them anymore. But I'll tell you what, as you read each one of those journals, and I put an advertisement in there for one of my records or a T-shirt or something that I have some kind of stake in, Cat House, Metal Sludge, whatever you want to call it, somehow there's a trickle-down effect, that I'll make some money off it. And I haven't had to spend a bunch of money to put that blog together. I have to put a book together. It's not going to cost a few $100. It's going to cost a few $1,000, And I kind of like what I'm doing now. And it seems that a lot of people like it as well. So I'm telling my story, my version of what happened. I'm sure there's going to be some people along the way that are going to get their feelings hurt. But that's life.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. I can't wait to read part 3. So I guess that would go for.
What did you think of part? Go ahead.
Part 2, when you went and you met the guys for the first time and you hung out and you had a nice little sleepover and your introduction to the Tough Mansion.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. It's great stuff. I'm like sucked in reading it.
Yeah, and here's the great thing is that, along the way, there's going to be a whole bunch of related stuff that everybody will be able to relate to. Whether it's me, in part 3, which you haven't read yet, I talk about the first time I saw Axl Rose, or the Randy Piper from Wasp at the mini market by my house. And I was looking at him thinking, he's a rock star. I wonder what he's doing in my neighborhood. Little did I realize that many years later, he was fucking broke as fuck and didn't have a penny to his name. That's why he lived in my neighborhood, But I had only been, in California from Wisconsin for a couple of weeks, and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy from Wasp,
Wow.
So I'll be dropping in all kinds of little things like that people will find, intriguing, interesting, fun to read, I guess, if they're fans of this kind of stuff.
I'm sure people are loving it. Because you don't pull a typical Stevie Rachelle fashion. Like, you don't pull no punches. You lay it all out there.
Yeah, and it's, I have gotten some great response so far. People have said some great things. And I'm having fun doing it, and I've told people, stories like this before just in meeting them, but I guess doing it a little bit more en masse and trying to organize it a little bit more, add some photos with it. It'll be fun,
Now, how about, is there stuff, because whether it's sludge stories you're putting up there or now with these diaries, is there stuff like that you actually ever double think to yourself, like, maybe I shouldn't post this?
Well, what do you mean by that? Because I'd be embarrassed by it later or something, or?
No, nothing. Maybe not for you personally, but other people. Like, maybe it's like, man, maybe this story is too much. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's going too far.
Well, here's the thing. This is me, and everybody at some point tells their story. Actually, that's not true. Some people don't want to say anything. Some people are afraid to go on social media because they think someone's going to come over and fucking rob their house or rape their kids or whatever. I had somebody tell me, I don't know, I showed somebody online. Me and an old friend connected. It was a woman. And I said, oh, blah, 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 how are you, blah, blah, blah. Here's my kids. She's like, oh, your kids are beautiful. And I said, we're on Facebook, right? So we're instant messaging. And at one point, she says, oh, I have a daughter, blah, blah, blah. And I says, okay, I don't see any pictures of her. And she goes, I'm not putting my child on Facebook. Are you fucking crazy? You shouldn't put your children on Facebook. And then she starts reading me the riot act about putting my kids on Facebook. And she was just like so protective. And I'm like, fuck off. It's just like, tens of millions of people put their pictures of their kids on Facebook. This is my baby. I'm proud. This is my son. He's kicking a football. This is my daughter in swimming lessons. She took her floaties off today. She's 4. She's proud. Whatever. But some people are just like, I'm not going on social media. I like to be private. And meanwhile, it's like, you know what, lady? Nobody gives a fuck about you, and no one's gonna rape you or your fucking daughter. You're just being a fucking overly protective, stupid fucking wench. So I didn't say that, but that's what I thought, because she kind of read me the riot act as to why I shouldn't put my children on Facebook. What's wrong with you? And I'm thinking, no, what's wrong with you, fuckface? You didn't have your kid's picture in the school yearbook either because somebody might see her. It's like, get over it. I'm not like that, I'm an open book, like you just said. I tell it like it is. I'm not a bullshitter. So I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. If I did, I wouldn't have been running Metal Sludge for 20 years. Because there's plenty of people that whine and cry and have a concern. Where'd you hear that? Why are you saying that? I love it so often. Oh, this is you should consider the source. It's on Metal Sludge. Eat a dick. Show me a story. Show me a headline. Show me anything that we've claimed to be rumored /fact/ this is what's happening. I'm all ears. If anybody wants to call in right now and tell me where we were wrong or where I reported something false, I'm all ears. There's none of it. And actually, just today we broke the news that we just announced a new rat lineup. So
yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
That was one of my questions. I had some sludge questions to ask you, and that was the first question I had lined up. Like, who the hell is in the freaking this rat lineup?
Pete Holmes is the drummer, who's from Black and Blue. And it makes a lot of sense because he's played in Juan Crocier's The Other Voice of Rat band over the last several years. And he also grew up with those guys. I mean, not grew up, but he came up at the same time. Black and Blue and Rat were playing the same clubs in the 80s. And my guess is that they had a relationship and a friendship over the years, and he'd be a great fill, Obviously, Jimmy DeGrasso's not doing it. He told that to Eddie Trunk, I think, announced it or something earlier in the week. And the guitar players are Chris Sanders, which I don't really know him that well, but I know that he was the guy that played in Britney Fox, and he played in another band called Night Fury. And then this kid named Jordan Ziff is the guitarist, who's from a band called Razor, and he's also played with Marty Friedman, the guy that was in Megadeth and Cacophony. So this is all pretty fresh, but, I've been digging on this story for a while, and I have multiple unrelated sources that all kind of came together in the last day or so, and that's why we put the story up revealing the lineup. They have not confirmed it. They haven't admitted to it or confirmed anything or denied it one way or the other, but we're also Metal Sludge also broke the story that Michael Grant was fired, which
right.
LA Gun said he wasn't. They said that wasn't the case. He left to go solo. He wanted to pursue other things, and they basically tried to say I was wrong or what I said was not true. But then 3 weeks later, Michael Grant went on the Eddie Trunk Show and said I was absolutely fired. I was blindsided. I had no idea it was coming.
I think that was I don't know what the reasoning was, but I think that was a freaking bad move for them. They seemed like such a tight unit with the five of those guys, with Grant.
Yeah, but, hey, I only worry about my band unless it has to do with Metal Sludge. Then I worry about everybody's band, and because we report that stuff. It's just what it is. Like, I'm not out to get anybody. I'm not out to make anybody feel bad or be embarrassed. If you want to be embarrassed, think about what you did. Sebastian, think about some of the things you say. Suck a fart out of my ass. It's like, dude, you're 5 or 50. Fucking grow up. As you saw that he had a complete meltdown war on Blabbermouth with everybody earlier in the week, right?
Yeah.
Or are you not aware of that?
Yeah, no, I saw it.
Yeah.
He just proves people always say why doesn't just him and Scarecrow get back together? And then you see situations like that, or I listened to his audiobook, and after listening to his book, he totally understand. He's just so freaking out of his mind. I couldn't imagine being in a band with him.
Yeah, somebody sent me a message the other day and said, hey, he's having a meltdown, And I'm like, okay, what is it? And they sent me a link, and it was a Blabbermouth article where Blabbermouth talked about something that Sebastian said in an interview about Donald Trump. And, of course, when you're talking politics, especially in today's climate, Trump, Hillary, Obama, whatever, everybody, there's people that like them and support them, and there's people that hate them and despise them. And if you go hard one way or the other, you're always going to get a backlash from the other side. Well, as for anybody that's listening that doesn't know, Sebastian went on there, started arguing with people, and at some point I started reading, his crazy outlandish comments, which were like schoolyard recess sixth grader comments at best, and they just progressively got worse. And then at one point I was like, I need to screen capture some of these, because a lot of times you'll do stuff like that and then you'll delete it all. And at some point, I started making little screen captures, Sebastian Bach, Meltdown, Blabbermouth, June 26th, whatever, blah, blah, blah. 1 JPEG. And then another one, 2, and then 3. And I'm sitting there cutting and pasting as I'm looking through this thread. And at one point I realized I was on the 37th screen capture. And I was like, and then I looked and it was it started, 9 hours ago, and then 7 hours. He said 7 hours ago he said this, and then 6 hours ago, and then I'm like, oh my God, he must be completely drunk, obliterated in his bus on the phone for 10 hours on a bus ride, screaming into the computer, or he's losing his fucking mind. And I'm thinking, this is why he's so fucking D-list. He's D-list, just like I am. Just like Bullet Boys are, you're not an A-list guy. You're not a B-list guy. Fucking moron, It's you're acting like a fucking nobody hair band that never had any success, and you're acting stupid. But you have had success, and you did sell records. Grow up. You got 3 kids and 2 stepkids, and probably soon to have a grandchild at this point. I mean, his one son's fucking 30-something, but the guy acts like a 12-year-old. God, sorry, I was about to say 12th grader. Shame on me. He acts like a 12-year-old, you know? So, but hey, I got to say, thank you, Sebastian. If it wasn't for you acting stupid, it wouldn't give us stuff to write about. So, I mean, over the years, Sebastian Bach has probably made me thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands. So that's a good thought, you know? I love him for that.
Slave to the grind.
No, sludge to the grind.
Sludge to the grind. So, All right. So, how about in the world of TUFF? What's you guys got some shows coming up?
Yeah, we're going to do a few shows in the fall. We're going to go play Detroit in August. We're going to play this thing called the Barbecue Bash in Ohio with Billy Morris, my good buddy Billy Morris from Cleveland. He's putting out a solo record, the Billy Morris Band. Every Mother's Nightmare will be there. TUFF will be there. That's in late August. We're also going to play in Green Bay, Wisconsin in September. We managed to get there every couple of years. And then that same weekend, we're going to go to, I think it's called Hadley, Minnesota. Or no, Hinckley, Minnesota. I think it's Hinckley. Hinckley or Hadley. It's this thing called Rocktember. And it's basically Minnesota's M3 is what everybody has kind of compared it to. It's a few days. It's a big indoor-outdoor kind of casino thing, several thousand people, and it's a really great event. In the past, they've had the Tom Keepers, the Night Rangers, the Vince Neils, the Slaughters, and then the lower tier bands. And this year, it's like Tesla, Queensryche, Rat, Stryper, Skid Row is on it, Lynch Mob, I think one of the Great Whites. Shame on me for not knowing which one. One of them are on it. TUFF is on it on the Saturday. So that's going to be a real cool show for us. And then I will also go to 80s in the Park in Florida at the end of September. I've been to a few of those. That's always a good time, good weather. And then in October, I will return to Brazil, and I will do more shows with Tales from the Porn, only this time, instead of just playing in Sao Paulo, we're going to play in Curitiba, and I think another city is called Campinas, and then a return show in Sao Paulo at Manifesto. Manifesto is basically the Whiskey A Go-Go of Sao Paulo. It's like the longest-running club. It's been there forever. And any small to medium-level rock band from around the world plays Manifesto when they go to Brazil, to Sao Paulo more indirectly,
Now, how about the whole thing with Tales from the Porn? Like, how did this whole thing come to be?
Well, are you aware of any of it, or is it completely foreign to you? And foreign, no pun intended.
No, I'm aware of it. I got the album. Yeah, actually, you sent me the album, as a matter of fact.
Right. Well, what happened is this band contacted me probably about 4 years ago, 2014 maybe. And they said, hey, we're a band from Brazil. We want to have an American singer. Essentially, in the message, the first message I got from Andy, the guitarist, he kind of described it as like, we want to do what you did with that Shameless band in Germany, only we want to do it in Brazil. So they're going to have the band there. They're going to record. They want me to be their singer, and at some point they want me to come to Brazil and sing with them. So we exchanged some messages. At some point, I wanted to hear what they had done, and they sent me a couple of demos, and I was pretty impressed with it musically. I thought it sounded pretty kick-ass. However, I wasn't sold on the vocal idea or the melody or lyrics. It was really subpar in my eyes, But I knew what they wanted. They wanted to make an 80s record, and when I say 80s, one thing I wanted to make clear with them is if they wanted to do 80s, I was cool with that, but I didn't want to do the Poison tough glammy, meaning early tough glammy, really super over the top pop bubblegummy glam. I wanted to do more of the harder kind of Dokken. I say Rat because I thought Rat had way more sophisticated guitars and cool parts. I wanted to be a little bit more of a ballsy 80s, So, and they sounded like that, their riffs and stuff. And so I just said, hey, this is the deal, but I want to rewrite these songs so they fit me. little bit more of an angry delivery, different vocal, little different melody line, blah, blah, blah. And so then we started, you know, and at first they were like, well, we really like our idea. And I was like, no, your idea sucks. Fuck you. So I basically said, I'll make you a deal. If you don't like what I do, and I'll redo it your way for free, because we had to cut a deal, you know, they had to pay me something. And so they agreed. And then I totally rewrote an idea. I went and sang it, sent it to them, and they were blown away. They fucking loved it. And that first song was actually back to the 80s, which is the opening track on the record. So, and then we worked on another one, and then another, and then there was a few months break, and then a couple more. And so we literally recorded, it didn't happen in a month or two. It literally happened over like, I don't know, a year and a half or something. And then we had to, little by little, piece it together, you know, and then we did photos, and then there was artwork and deciding on a logo, and, you know, it was a whole process, you know. And finally it was done. We put it out, and the reaction's been great. I went there in April, met the band, we rehearsed, we played, had a great reaction, and the reaction from fans just in general, hearing it from all over, has been really positive. So I'm excited to go back and play again, you know?
That's pretty wild. So, like, all these years of going back and forth and then finally working on music and stuff like that, and then
I had never met them.
It's so freaking wild.
I had never met them. I never even had a phone conversation with them. It was only email and Facebook Messenger. And two of the guys don't speak any English. And Andy and Bento, the two main guys that I communicate with, do speak English, but even Andy's English at times is a little broken. So I think I sent them a message once where I said to him, I said, you know, when are you going to go to rehearsal? And he wrote me back, and he's like, or I said, when are you going to start to rehearse the songs? And he's like, I don't know what you mean, you know. And at some point, you know, he'll write me something, or I'll write him something in English, and then he'll have to put it in the translator. And he's like, oh, that's what you meant, you know. Like, he didn't know what the word rehearsal had meant the first time I sent it to him, you know. So there was some simple communication bridges that we had, gaps that we had to bridge to make it so we could understand what the other person was saying, which was, you know, a little tricky and frustrating at points, you know?
Right. Wow. Again, that's why it's the music business. You're doing business and you're working for it this time.
But the record came out great. At least I think, you know, and I've had some really good response. So I'm really happy with what turned out, you know?
It is an awesome album. I remember when I first listened to it, I was going back today, I listened to it again. I was like, this. I remember even, like, cause I wrote a review for it. I just remember instantly saying, like, it just makes you want to put your fist in the air at a concert.
Yeah. Definitely got some balls to it, you know?
Cool. So what else, trying to think what else you got going on. I think that's pretty much it. Like, it's nonstop.
Well, I'm actually leaving on Saturday. We talked about what's happening after I come back from Europe, but I'm leaving on Saturday, and I'm going to Romania with my children and their mother. My children's mother is from Romania, and we've been back twice, but they were much younger, and it's now been about 6 years. So we're going back for her to visit family, you know, show off the kids. They're getting a little bigger. But once I fly to Bucharest and get them settled in her hometown, which is middle of the country, I will then meet up with a Romanian band who's been working on music for the last couple months, and I'm going to play 3 shows with a band in Romania, in Petroșani, Vama Veche, and Bucharest, and then I will also go to Budapest, Hungary, and I'll rehearse there for a day with a band in Hungary and play an event there. So while I'm in that area, and Vama Veche is like right on the Bulgarian border, so I'll be between Romania, Hungary, and Hungary, and Bulgaria, all within like about a 2-week period playing shows, and then I will come back and meet up with my kids and their mother a couple days, and then we fly out of Bucharest and come back at the end of July.
So now with these shows, I mean, are you playing tough music or?
Yes.
I'm sure you're not.
We're going to play half TUFF music. We're going to play half TUFF music and half covers because, you know, the reality is, I mean, I've played Romania before and we have fans everywhere, but the TUFF catalog, it's not like we're doing a Def Leppard or a Poison show where there's a dozen hits. You know, there's a handful of songs that people have been familiar with through YouTube plays and such. So we'll add in like, you know, a Motley Crue Live Wire, a Judas Priest song, a Kiss song, and kind of turn it into an 80s Sunset Strip hair metal night, so to speak, you know?
Now, why
That's the plan.
Here in the States, how about more of that? Like, or is it just because crowds are so tough to get going anymore across the States?
How about more of what? Where?
More TUFF shows across the United States.
Tell somebody to book me. We'll go. You know, here's the thing. And I say this to anybody that's listening. I so often see these people online. Here's a great example. You know who Rhino Bucket is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I love Rhino Bucket. George is amazing. The band's great. He basically quit. He hung it up. He's been doing this 35 years. And I saw he made a post, and then I saw all these people going, "Oh my God, I love Rhino Bucket. Oh my God, I'm so bummed out. And if you would have come, I would have come to your show." And then I see some people interacting with them, going, "Hey, Julie or Tina or Dave or whoever you are, when was the last time you saw Rhino Bucket?" "Oh, I never got to see him live." It's just like, okay, so you're bummed out that they're fucking broke up, but they've been around for 35 years and put out 10 records and you've never seen them? Get the fuck off this thread, you dumb bitch. You know, I mean, I hate to be negative, but it's like people say to me, I'll play a show and I'll give a great example. I want to say this is 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more. We were supposed to play a show in New York City, TUFF was, and there's a club, it's escaping me right now. I know that, I want to say Lynch Mob played it like a week before we did, and there was a stabbing there. Do you remember that?
No.
About 10 or 12 years ago, there was a show in New York City at a club, and it was a popular rock club, and Lynch Mob played, but there was a fight in the crowd, and at some point somebody got stabbed, right? And TUFF was supposed to play there, but because of this stabbing that took place, the club was being shut down for 30 days and investigated. So the promoter had to move our show from the city to like Long Island or something, you know, some other kind of suburb outside the city by, I don't know, what is it, 60 miles, 80 miles or something. Right. And then there's this girl online that starts messaging me, and she's all upset, and she's making a stink about it. And she's like the biggest TUFF fan in the world, and she's wanted to see me forever, and she's a big fan and wants to see the band, and she's going on and on and on. And at one point she says, "Well, I can't go there. Try to book something else in the city." And so I started this little interaction with her. I said, "Listen, we're traveling 2,750 miles. You can't travel fucking an hour to see us? You can't. I don't like that train. That train is dirty. I never take that train." And at one point, you know what, bitch? Fuck you. You're not worth my energy, you know? You're not worth my energy. I'm flying across the country. We're coming 2,750 miles. And now our show got moved from around the corner from her house, which was convenient. Now she has to take a train for an hour and spend fucking $4, and she's pissed about it. I don't like fans like that. I don't need fans like that. So when you say, why aren't there more tough... Huh?
You wanted her to get on a dirty train. How dare you?
Fuck her. You know? I don't even say that kidding. Fuck her. You know, it's like the amount of effort that these bands put into playing all these shows and going all these places. And then what I do is I see people online saying, "Why aren't you playing here? Why aren't you playing there? Why aren't you coming here? Why aren't you coming there?" And a lot of times it's like, you know, we were there. We just played there 6 months ago. You know? I understand that there's not a big demand for me, I go where I can go. You know, I'm not going to Romania because there's a fucking huge demand for me there. I'm going there with my family because that's where my children's mother is from. And I've put my nose to the grindstone and went on Facebook and contacted promoters and friends and said, who can I play with? Where's a rock club? Find me a guitarist. Find me a promoter. Somebody who will put together a hairband night with this washed up D-list jackass from the Sunset Strip, me. You know, what can we do? Okay, and we start communicating. Hey, I can't pay you a lot. I can give you this. I can give you a hotel room. We'll find this band. Here's the guitarist. And you know what? That's taken a lot of work, Bay. That's taken a lot of work. There's been a lot of emails. There's been a lot of chess moves. There's no huge amounts of money involved. But you know what? I've committed so much energy and so much time in 34 years. 35 would be a lie. It's 34 and a half years to this. And I'm going to play shows in Romania because I'm going to be there, you know, and I can make it happen. But it wasn't easy. And as far as playing more shows in the U.S., I'd love to play more shows in the U.S., but there's not a lot of opportunity. Sure, there is for Slaughter or Warren or Skid Row or Dokken, who had, you know, a half a dozen or 10 hits and sold 6 or 8 or 10 million records, but to a band that had a couple of minor Headbangers Ball type D-list hits, there's not a big demand for it. So, you know, if somebody books me, I'll be there. And if the fans don't come, well, you know, I'm not going to walk to their house and stand outside and beg them, you know?
You know, it's actually kind of funny. Like, we had, the hell is the guy's name? I always say his name wrong. He used to be in Mushroomhead. I forget his name. Waylon somebody. But,
they're from Ohio.
A Killer's Confession. And
okay.
When he called in, he was literally out hand-delivering CDs to people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what it's come to.
Yeah, you know, there's parts of this industry. You asked me about doing a book, and you said, why don't you do a book? Now, I understand that you have a podcast here, and you have a way to obviously promote people and put them out there. Have you ever bought a TUFF product in your entire life?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What? What and when?
Well, it's been many years, but I used to have the Tough Muff Mansion VHS, old cassette tapes.
Wow.
I'm impressed. Yeah, come on now.
Right. Okay. No, I'm just asking you because I'm trying to make a point here. I get people that ask me about the book online, or I'll be at an event, any event that I go to. I'll show up. I'll have 6 shirts, maybe more. I'll have 30 CDs, not 3, 30, like 6 or 8 TUFF CDs, a couple of solo. Obviously, I sell these other records where some people go, why are you selling a Wildside record? Why are you like, fuck you. I put this out, bitch, you know? And I don't say that, but I think it. It's like, I'm not there trying to make money off Wildside. I signed the band to a deal. I gave them money. I have a contract. I packaged that. I mastered it. I paid for the artwork. These are on my label. So I'm not just Stevie Rachelle from TUFF. I'm Stevie Rachelle from Metal Sludge, and I'm also the guy that owns and operates RLS Records and all this. But I'll get people that'll roll up to me, and they'll say to me, when are you going to make a new record? And I say, okay, I'll answer that, but I have a question for you. Why are you asking? Well, I just want to know. Okay. You're a fan. You might buy the new record, huh? Yeah, if you have a new record, I'll buy it. Okay, what do you have of mine from the past? What have you bought in the past? Oh, I bought your first record when it came out. And I'm like, okay, well, there's 9 other ones since then. Have you bought either of my solo records? Have you bought any of the 7 Shameless records I've been on? Have you bought the Tales from the Porn record? I don't expect people to buy the Cheeseheads with Attitude because they don't fucking probably care about the Packers. But when people harp on me, why don't you make new music? It's just like, who said I haven't? I've made a ton of stuff. You haven't bought it. So for that reason, you don't even have the right to ask me about a new record. Fuck you. And I'll tell you, you know, I'm cut and dry. I'm a good guy. I'm an open guy. I'm a firm guy. But I'm not a bullshitter. You know, I'm not here to be somebody's pincushion and answer their fucking 75 questions, and then they look at a table full of merchandise where I have 40 or 60 items, and they're like, "Do you have any bottle openers with your logo on it?" It's just like, hit the road, dude. You know.
Oh. Well.
So when people ask about a book, there's not. You know, if you like the stories, read them. You know, there's not going to be a book.
Well, let me say this, and then I got to because my second guest is waiting patiently. But whenever I do go to a show, and for the record, their head is probably spinning right now. But whenever I do go to a show, I always make a point to buy merch from any band I'm seeing, just to support them in any way, especially if they're a traveling band out of town. I always buy shirts. I buy shirts more than CDs, but I always buy something to put help put gas in the tank or food in their stomach.
Good thinking, and I do the same. I went to go see a show at Palladino's. I don't even know why I went there. This was some years ago. I walked into Palladino's, and Metal Church was playing. I have no interest in Metal Church. I don't know one thing about them other than I know they've been around since, you know, the early thrash bands like the Overkills and the Metallicas or whatever. But I went up to the merch table. I looked around. I found a shirt. "You got this in XL?" She said yes. Told me it was $15. I gave her 20. You know, I've never wore this shirt in my life, but I know that those guys, Metal Church, are one of those, you know, lower level D-list metal thrash bands that, you know, has been doing it since fucking 82 or whatever. So I did just that. I put $20 in their gas tank. I didn't nickel and dime. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to try to get $1 off, or this shirt doesn't fit right in the shoulders. It's like, fuck off. Just pay the $20 and get out of their way, you know?
Right, exactly.
And to anybody that does that and appreciates that, buys a record, buys a shirt, buys a CD, donates $10, whatever, I'm appreciative for it, you know?
Absolutely. So now we just got to get.
Sometimes when people meet me, they don't want to hear they might not always like my answer because I'm not an ass kisser. I'm not going to say something nice just to say something nice.
You've said some nice
things
tonight.
I like to question the mind.
But you've also
no. But I'm saying when a fan when a fan comes up to meet you, I'm always there to be courteous. But you know, it's like if you meet Gene Simmons, my cousin told me this when he was about 16. He went to a Kiss concert, and he went up to Gene, and he asked Gene, "What do you think about TUFF?" He asked him this in Green Bay. Gene had no idea that this was my cousin, this young kid. And Gene goes, "What do I think about TUFF?" He goes, "Well, here's what I think." And then he give this kid like an explanation as to the good, the bad, and the difference about TUFF. And then Gene turned around and asked him a question about, I don't know, like his pants. He's like, "Why are you wearing those pants?" And he pointed at the pants, and the kid's kind of like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" You know? And it turned into like, Gene kind of wanted to prod the kid, you know, and make him think at the same time, you know. If somebody comes up and they want to buy something from me, I'm cool with that. But I'm not just going to smile and shake their hand and take their $10 or $20, you know. I'll put them to the test, you know. People will say, "Oh, I'm a huge fan." Okay. When have you seen us? What'd you buy? Where'd you see us? Name one song off the record without looking at the back of the CD right now. I want to see if they're full of shit, you know? And so I guess I want them to earn it that way, even though it's just, you know, I want to know somebody's real. And when it's all said and done, that's what I am. You said, you know, what if it's not a good idea to put all this out there? What if you hurt somebody? No, I'm being real. I'm honest.
You've been real and honest all night.
That's why some of these industry people have a problem with me, is because I'm honest. I'm not full of shit. You know?
You sludge it out there.
Sludge to the grind.
Sludge to the grind. So, all right, so everybody actually naturally should go to Metal Sludge, but TUFF dates and all that stuff, where can they find all those and Tales from the Porn info? And Just keep going to Sludge?
All social media. All social media. Same thing I tell somebody else. Oh, I'm like, I can't believe you have this. I've been trying to find this for years. It's like, do you have a computer? Do you know the little Google bar? You could type my name in. You could type TUFF in. You could type in any band. You know, and so, I never heard it. I didn't know Slick Toxic was around. I didn't know. Whatever happened to them? Somebody asked me the other day. They messaged me and says, I'm a huge fan of Dirty Looks. Do you think they'll play any shows this summer? And I said, you don't know? And the guy's like, what do you mean? I'm like, so you're a huge fan of Dirty Looks. And so now I know that Hendrik died. I know it wasn't recent, but it wasn't 10 years ago, but it was more than a couple. And I quick Googled it. I think it was did he die in 2011? Does that sound about right?
Ooh, I don't even know.
Or you don't know?
Yeah.
Well, did you know he's passed away, right? The singer from Dirty Looks.
Hmm.
Did you know that he had passed away, the singer from Dirty Looks?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't know that. Okay, well, either way, this and I thought it was so ironic. Like, the guy messaged me and he's talking to me about Dirty Looks, and he was a huge fan, and he wanted to know what I knew about them. And I told him, I said, the singer died many years ago. There won't be any Dirty Looks shows coming up. Oh, my God, I can't believe it. And, but here's the thing. I guess not everybody stays online all day. Not everybody maybe owns a computer. Not everybody knows how to work Google. Sometimes I'm let down by society, but other times I'm over it. So I don't want to hold up your other guests anymore. And sorry if I sound like I'm doing 10 things at once. I'm leaving town in less than 48 hours for 3 weeks to go to Europe, and I'm packing. And so if it sounds like I'm out of breath and moving shit around, it's because I am.
Well, Stevie, thank you as always. Let's not wait another 5 years. I hope you have fun over in Europe, and
right.
Keep sludging to the grind.
I'll keep it real. If anybody wants to find me, I'm online. You can't miss me, unless you're fucking completely out of your mind and half-ass backwards.
And
okay, bud.
All right. Take care.
Take care, babe. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye-bye.